Commissioner Phil Dodd,
Here.
Commissioner Laura Davidson,
Here.
Commissioner Phil Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner Carl Boyd,
Here.
Commissioner Wayne Irvin,
Present.
Commissioner Anthony Johnson,
Here.
Chairman Alan McAdoo,
Here.
and Commission Chair Jeff Phillips. We have a quorum.
Okay, first order of business is approve the minutes. And I think the only one on this committee that was here for the minutes would be Commissioner Dodd.
Mr. Chairman, I trust that the minutes have been reviewed and would move that they be passed. And if we find any errors, we can make the adjustments at a later date.
Since I'm the second one, I entertain a second from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Motion passed. Next order of business is CCRC update plus generations.
Chairman McAdoo, I'll start off if you don't mind.
Okay.
For the new commissioners, I'm Mike Hughes, Rutherford County engineer, and I will be going over the Generations Connected Daycare, and it is I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but it's a site plan where they're going to add a daycare to the community care of Rutherford County,
Okay, can you hear it now?
facility. And if you know where community care is, this is south of Murfreesboro. This is Shelbyville Highway. This is Joe B. Jackson, and then it turns into County Farm Road over here. And once you cross the railroad tracks, this is community care. And I will zoom in a little bit and show you where we are. This is the facility right here. And they are proposing to add the daycare, like I said, in this area right here. Right now, they have a daycare, and this is kind of like a double wide trailer right here, and this is going to be removed. This is the playground. I'll show you another view, help you get a better perspective. This is the community care of Rutherford County here, the main parts of the main building. This is the existing daycare that will be removed, and the new facility will be going in this area. And this will be reviewed at our Monday, September 26th, Rutherford County Planning Commission meeting. And this is the site plan for the development, and I'll zoom in and let you kind of see what's going on. This is the existing part of the building. They're going to be adding a loop drop-off here. They're showing the proposed daycare to be 11,157 square feet. They're going to keep the existing playground here. This is where the old daycare was that's going to be removed, and they are adding some parking in other areas. And the site plan is in good order, and I believe that it will be passed at the Monday's Planning Commission meeting. So this is just a report on what's going on. I don't have any architectural plans or anything like that, but we could come up with some if we needed to. Have any questions for me before I?
So if I could ask.
Yes, sir.
The zoning is squared away or no?
It is zoning. I believe
has been
it's
changed?
zoned institutional. Let me see. And it will need to go to the city of Murfreesboro. Let's see. Yes, it's IN is institutional, and is a permitted use on the property. So let me off, and I'll show you the city sewer. Because it's on city sewer, it has to go through the city of Murfreesboro Planning Commission. It will be situated in this area right here. So unfortunately, we'll have to pay city building permit fees and city review fees for the Planning Commission. So
And in terms of the overall funding for it, where is that? What money's been approved and what has?
Mayor Carr could answer that.
So currently, we're discussing a bond that will piggyback on top of the potential Rutherford County school bond that will be looked at by the commission shortly. There was talk of a Rutherford County school bond of $136 million that hadn't been voted on for 3 upgrades for Smyrna, Oakland, and Riverdale. The discussion was to put a bond on this particular facility in the amount of $5 million, approximately, plus or minus, which would be paid back by CCRC directly back to the county. So in effect, what we have is we have CCRC paying the bond in the form of a lease agreement. Rutherford County would own the facility.
Any other questions on?
Well, I just want to get I want to just get a sense, so at this point, no money has not been appropriated?
No, sir.
And is there a budget in place to sort out about what it costs, other than the $5 million estimate?
And that is just Commissioner, that is just an estimate based on a rough look at the need. That is not an actual number, obviously, because we've got to get architectural and engineering drawings done. But the logic behind this proposal is currently that particular daycare services, I think, 28 children at max capacity, or 24 children. This particular facility will upgrade that facility to, I believe, 128 children, correct? And so with the hours being approximately from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. For children before they go into school. So with some expansion capability, the idea of how this will be funded would be through, again, the bond being piggybacked on top of the school board bond to renovate Oakland, Riverdale, and Smyrna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Okay, now, it's not a new idea. We do have a care center out there now, but we just expanding it. We're looking at maybe for our employees to work second and third shift, which is hard for them to get daycare, that this would be a good facility, a good opportunity, a good thing for our employees. So that's the reason we came up with the idea, and that's the reason we're trying it. Now, the existing daycare has been a success. In other words, it's been a win-win situation for the senior citizens and some of our fellow workers with their children out there. So hopefully this expansion will be even a better success, because we'll be trying to cover all shifts for our employees. Any questions? Okay. I think all the committee members, do you know Adam over maintenance, a maintenance director? He would like to come up and share some information on this facility also. So do I have a motion to suspend the rule and allow him to come forward?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Adam. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. Okay, while we're on community care, I'll just quickly touch on what we're doing there. So we are in the middle of a renovation for a large portion of the area that you see on your screen there, wings G and F. So in the middle of this renovation, we went out and looked, and we observed up to 5 active water leaks. So to preserve that investment in that rehab, we decided to repair the section of roof, that tar gravel section of roof that you see. And if you'll look at some of the dark areas, it has a significant age to that roof. Like I said, we had up to 5 active leaks. So basically, the funds were set aside to make this emergency repair, and I'm just updating you on where we stand with that repair. The prep work for that approximately 22,000 square foot has been completed. They completed that this week. The roof has been dry vac twice, cleaned twice, rinsed twice. The contractor will be applying a closed cell foam insulation to that roof, and that process will start tomorrow morning and go throughout the weekend. Once that process is complete and inspected, the contractor will begin applying a multi-layer fluid membrane roofing system. And that roof will have a 10-year warranty that is renewable for an additional 10 years at that time. The contractor is on schedule. We've had some excellent weather for him to start this project consecutively. He estimates the completion date on or before October the 5th.
Okay, now I know that they're calling for rain this weekend. Is that going to hamper him in this installation?
He said it would not bother them at this point. They've gotten what they needed to do up to this point, that they're safe.
Okay, for the new commissioners, this was something that was brought up under an emergency because it was leaking bad out there. And basically speaking, we just couldn't wait before we had to do something to the roof. And we had looked at just installing just a conventional roof, and it came in at a cost over $1 million. So therefore, we have tried some new, I don't know how to put it. We tried a new solution, and we tried it on the jail and the courthouse first, and it seemed to be doing excellent. And it's about a third of the cost. It's like a foam that they put down on top of the roof. So looking at the cost, and I think that cost was roughly around $400,000.
It was about 206, 207,000. It was about a third of the price of a conventional roof. Yeah. The foam application is it's an insulating material, and then that closed cell foam is then covered with a multi-layer fluid membrane, which as it cures to roughly 40 mils. So it's similar in its completion to a rubber roof. It's similar. It's just a different product. It's a new product. But like Commissioner said, we've done multiple buildings now. I think the oldest was 2018. I believe 2018 or 2019 when we first applied this product, and so far we've been quite successful with it.
So, is there any questions, Commissioner Irvin?
I'm sure the total for the repair was how much, and how much have we spent, and
Okay.
how much is left?
Okay. The funds have already been. We already have the funds for the project to be completed. It was about $207,000 to do the entire 22,000 square foot that you're looking at. That's roughly a third of the cost of like the Commissioner said, a conventional roof, like a rubber roof, TPO.
Is it a fixed fee deal?
That's the full amount that
Yeah, that's
the
fixed
county
fee.
will pay.
Fixed fee on the roof.
That's the
Okay.
total amount.
At that time when we passed it on commission floor, we had it higher because we really, at the time, had declared it an emergency, and we didn't know the exact figure. So that's the reason, we had it higher then, but the exact figure now came in at roughly around 207,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other? Commissioner Phillips?
I believe we're going to try that same roofing system on Smyrna High School, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that correct?
Commissioner Dodd?
I've not been made aware of that. I look forward.
I believe that's what we're going to try. That will be the first school process that will try this new roofing system, and it's going to save several $1 million by
yeah.
doing that process. And from what we've heard, I think that it may even be a better solution than putting one of the old roofs back on it. At least that's what we're hoping for in the future. But I think Smyrna High School is going to be the first one. Does that ring a bell with anybody? I think that's what's going to happen. That roof at Smyrna is in terrible shape, and there was some discussion as to whether or not this would even be a possible solution for it. But I think getting some information back from that company, they've determined that it would be. So I think Smyrna High School is going to be next. Is that right, Adam? Are you aware of that?
I know the school board and the school engineers was discussing it, and we had talked about it, about doing that with the school roofs, because it'd be a tremendous savings in money. And what we're looking at, even if we try this, even if we try it on the schools or whatever, it'd be a tremendous savings, and we just can't pass it up looking at the figures we're looking at. So I believe you're right, the Smyrna is going to be the first one. And so hopefully it'll work perfect, and then we can proceed on with the other schools. Commissioner Dodd?
Thank you, Chairman. In the minutes I've reviewed, I haven't seen that yet. I know it wasn't on last month's, but I talked to the director of schools today and a meeting with Trey later. But I will be an advocate to share our good experience with this product to the school board. It is a tremendous product with some proven history in a few of our buildings. The science behind it is solid, and the costs are a third or more in savings. So glad to have this opportunity.
Any other questions? If not, since we got Adam up here, third thing on the agenda is 20 North update.
So I guess we'll start with just a brief kind of summary of where we're at right now and what brought us to that point. You all know that we recently, about a year and a half ago, completed a renovation on the 20 North, the old judicial building. Just some of the problems that sometimes arise after construction. We found some issues within the building, some poor workmanship, and there was some old equipment that was left in the building, 41-year-old equipment that we're now, that some of those issues are starting to surface. So we had a contractor come in, multiple contractors come in and kind of evaluate the situation. We were having some leaks. We were having some significant condensation. There was some very expensive IT equipment that we needed to relocate. So brought in some contractors, and with their advice, we've tackled that. We're going at it from a couple of different angles. We've done some quality control with the air, the balancing. We've done some insulation, and we've also gone over the unit on the roof in hopes that we can correct that problem. Right now, we estimate, same as we mentioned in last month's meeting, we think we have about 90% of our moisture issues solved. There are other factors that go into that estimation. The insulation has not been on the duct and the VAV boxes for an extended length of time. So, and also the humidity now is obviously not what it was a few months ago when we were experiencing our most severe water problems. So we'll have a more accurate assessment of exactly where we stand in the future. I mentioned earlier that we're working on our set points. We're working with CS3, a company that's coming in and doing some air balancing within the system. We'll continue to take steps to resolve this issue. Like I said, we've already made significant improvements just within the last couple of months with what we have done. So I'll keep the committee updated as we move forward, and that completes our update on 20 North.
Okay, any questions from commissioners? There's no questions on it. I know for the new commissioners and some of the projects we got going on, we may want to set up a tour where each commissioner can look and see for themselves all the properties we have and all the projects we got going on. And also, we may ask that all the properties that we own, this be given to each commissioner on this committee. Done that last year, so problem that you just get a copy of it, and with that copy, you'll be able to follow a lot and write down, you know, maybe some questions that you got on different projects. Come to the committee meeting, you can address it. So that the tour, I don't know, we can maybe just go ahead and discuss that now under 20 North. Do commissioner have a specific time or whatever they would like to do it? A time that would fit their schedule? Like in the morning, afternoons, or after the committee meeting, or what? So in other words, there's no committee member that have any conflict with setting a time? Commissioner Irvin?
Well, no, I was just going to ask if maybe we could have a week to, or a little bit of time to sort out our schedules. How long do you anticipate? Because I would like to see all of these properties and, you know, kind of get a list and sort out and take some, just drive around myself, actually, and then get a tour of some of these.
Well, if you want to do it yourself, that's fine. I think you can get a list. Give you a list and you can drive around and look for yourselves, and then maybe at the next meeting we can come up with a specific date and you can be thinking about a time. Because I know some mornings are better than afternoons or whatever, so. And I think we need to get that done by the next meeting, because each commissioner need to know. I hate for you to be on this committee and another commissioner asks you and you say, I don't know. So we'll get educated real quick on all the projects we got going on. So we'll have that information. You get that, we'll get the list out, or you can just ask, and she'll definitely give you the list, and we can go with next month. Okay, next on the agenda is one-stop update.
All right. Commissioners, this project continues to track ahead of schedule at this time. Since my last update, the roof is at 90%. complete. The superintendent informed me this week that they're waiting on fascia boards to finish drying in the roof. He anticipates those materials to be delivered next week. I've observed continued progress with the electrical and plumbing rough-in, and I estimate that to be at 90% at this time. Earlier this week, the contractor, they started installing sprinkler lines, and also, there they are, sprinkler lines. There's some duct that they're also starting to install. So you're actually starting to see it take shape now. Finally, they've been drilling the well for the irrigation system. They anticipate that complete by the end of the week. And that completes my report on One Stop.
Any questions? No questions on One Stop. We're going to move on to public health and safety buildings update.
Well, Commissioners, we'll start with Rockville. This was our first public health and safety that we started, so it's significantly further ahead than our Kittrell location. So, but you'll get to see here kind of an image come together of what it will look like. They finished with all the structural steel. The trusses are now on. We talked about that in last month's meeting, that they had to refabricate some of the trusses, and it got them behind a little bit. The decking materials were on order. They've now been delivered to the site. The contractor, you can see from that picture, that was, I think, Tuesday morning, that they've started installing the decking. The grading is ongoing. Contractor has been prepping this week with site concrete. So I'll give you a few shots of that. That's the back and sides of the location, the rear of that building. They were actually pouring that the day we were out there. The contractor they've also started their plumbing their sprinkler lines this week as well. That completes my report on Rockville.
Any questions on Rockwell?
I could ask a generic question, a little bit of a generic question. Are all the contracts for these projects available online somewhere, and the vendor lists and everything else? Or I guess what's kind of the process? I mean, I'm sure that there's a kind of an initial process, and there's a legal review, and
I'm sure there is. I would be happy to locate that information, and we can get any information that we have available to you.
Yeah, I was just curious. There's a lot of times I like to dig into the weeds sometimes, as you can kind of imagine, and sometimes I'd like to just take a look at some of the contracts, for example, and some of the just, or at least a vendor list, and then go from there and try to sort out, what the background and the data looks like for a lot of these projects.
And Commissioner, I would highly recommend too, if you are available and interested, you are more than welcome to attend any of the public building PBA meetings and contracts and questions that you just asked. They're discussed openly, and you would be more than welcome to attend.
So these come through PBA?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. The mayor's office would be glad to supply you, Commissioner Irvin, and anybody on the committee, any of the contracts or documentation, supply you anything that you need to participate in these meetings. The more help, the better. There's always a welcome set of eyes, so we'll be glad to supply you any of those contracts or any of the details related to those contracts. That won't be an issue at all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Adam, you know the date of the next PBA? You know the
Oh,
date of the
they're
meeting?
meeting next door right now.
I would, they usually tell me, but that was an emergency meeting, so, and I'm not able to attend.
I hadn't got the schedule, prior to today, but they are next door meeting, but. No, and I think we will be getting the schedule of the meeting, but, in the past, they tried to have 2 or 3 meetings and didn't have a quorum. May well just bring that out. And so therefore, they're trying to correct some of this and set a meeting time and with the new member they got on there and trying to make some adjustments so they can have a quorum. And each one on the property management committee, you will get the meeting date and time of PBA because we work really basically hand in hand together. So you will be getting that information.
Could, just for my benefit, because I'm new, could you kind of explain the relationship between PBA, this committee, and the commission? I guess budget also. I'm just trying to understand kind of the relationship.
Transactionally, it comes from the Public Building Authority to this committee, then straight either to steering budget or directly to the county commission. But the origins, anything that comes out of PBA comes to this committee. So you'll see I can't imagine what you wouldn't see that comes out of PBA, quite honestly.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Feel free to ask the questions, because this is really our first meeting with the new committee members. And I know that you're going to have some questions. Don't, and a new mayor, too. And we got a chairman of the commission, Jeff Phillips. So when you got any questions, just ask, because I guarantee you there's no question is going to go unturned or looked over or seem to be stupid or whatever you want to say, but you need to ask these questions. And also, I was going to bring up on the public buildings, and I think Commissioner Phillips will say yes to this also. You can get a lot of information from Public Safety Committee. Because in the public buildings, you're going to have the ambulance, the fire, and all go into these buildings. So they got a lot of information also. Okay. No other question. We're looking at other business. I think we got several things that come up under other business. First, under other business, I'm going to turn it over. Okay.
Did you want to cover Kittrell?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think we had one more
we got
building.
I thought y'all just summed them up into one, but that's all right.
I may be wrong. Excuse me.
Okay, well, let me give it, okay. Mike, you want to touch base on last casket?
Yes. Yes, sir, I can do that after Adam covers Kittrell.
Okay, Adam's covering Kittrell.
This won't take long. Like we mentioned, their project started behind Rockville's project, so they're obviously they're further along, but they're tracking well. They've completed their slab on grade. The CMU walls are ongoing. They're starting to erect those. The structural steel and other associated items with the steel are now on site. They're rough in. We touched on that. They're rough in and all their ground plumbing and conduit and electrical that was completed, and we touched on that at last month's property management, and that completes my report on Kittrell.
Okay, now,
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you. Remind me the committee, the contractor for 20 North was whom?
20
Was
North.
it Rock City? Yeah, the remodeling contractor at 20 North
was neither of the contractors. That was Goodell.
Goodell. And One Stop?
One Stop is Rock City.
Did Rock City do who did our archive?
Goodell.
Goodell did, okay, I knew somebody did too.
Mhm.
And so Rockville Public Safety,
Rock City.
and Kittrell.
American.
Okay, last cast's update?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Let me pull up on the map. The last Casas, and I'll jump to that one. I'll show you where it's at first. It is going to be in front of the current volunteer fire hall. If you know, this is Las Casas Pike here. Let me turn on the layers. This Las Casas Pike here, the Las Casas Elementary School is down the street, just a little bit off screen, just for reference, if you know the area. This is part of the old Las Casas Elementary School that will be demolished, and the new site will be built in this area. And this site, along with any of the other sites, planning and engineering has all the sites, the maps, the plans. If you want to come take a look at those, I could spend hours talking about them, but I won't do it so we don't make this meeting too long. But
What are we talking about constructing? I'm sorry.
It has been recently approved by the Rutherford County Planning Commission in July, and it just is waiting its turn in PBA to get all the contracts done and go through that process. I'm sorry.
It's a public safety.
It's a what?
Public safety building.
It's public
Okay,
safety.
thank
Yes, sir.
you.
I'm sorry. We're still on the public safety buildings.
well,
There's a ring. There are 6 public health and safety buildings in Rutherford County. This, Adam mentioned Rockvale and Kittrell, which are under construction. The next 2, Las Casas and Walter Hill, are the ones that recently were approved. This is the Las Casas site. And I could pull up the plans if you want to, or I could skip ahead to where the Walter Hill site. The Walter Hill Public Health and Safety Building will be built right next to the elementary school. This is the elementary school. North is to the right on this page, and it will be in this area right here. And this will replace the current Walter Hill Fire Hall that's down the street and next to Landfill Road. It's on a septic system. This will be tied to the city sewer here. And likewise, because it's on city sewer, it had to go through the City of Murfreesboro Planning Commission. So it will be in this area, a brand new building. There'll be duplicates of what they're doing at Rockvale and Kittrell. We have 2 more after this. We've got one in Christiana. It will be, let's see, we believe the site will be, this is Christiana Elementary School. This is Salem Highway, US 231. This is Parsons Road, just south of the Kittrell Elementary School. We will believe it'll be in this area here, will be the 5th Public Health and Safety Building. And then the last one originally was proposed to be at the Almaville Volunteer Fire Hall, and this is also the Almaville Convenience Center, but there's not sufficient septic system soil for a 24/7 manned fire hall and EMS station. So we talked to the developers of a large development, and I'll get you there shortly. There's a new retirement community called Southern Harmony that's being constructed on Franklin Highway, around the corner from Almaville Road. Let me turn off the aerial map so you can see a little better. So the Almaville Public Health and Safety Building was supposed to be where my cursor is, if you can see that on the screen right here. So like I said, there wasn't sufficient soil. We talked to the developers of this retirement community, and we talked them into donating land to the county, 2 acres of land and a sewer tap to provide a public health and safety building, and it will be in this area right here. This is a massive development that's just under construction right now. It's a, like I said, a retirement 55 and up community, and if I thought about it, we should have asked them to pay for the building too, since it's going to be an amenity essentially for a selling point for the retirement community to have a fire and ambulance station right there. So it's going to be on their step system. It's currently under construction, like I said, but this will be our 6th public health and safety building.
Any questions?
And like I said, if you wanted to come to the planning and engineering department, we've got all the maps and plans, and we could sit down and talk to you individually and talk about all the county projects that are underway if you wanted to do that as well.
Hey, thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? All right, now we're ready for other business. First, under other business, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor to discuss an idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So recently, as this committee is aware, we had the opportunity to recognize 4 different members for their service to the community through the Rutherford County Commission. And through this county's history, beginning in 1804, we have had 36 different mayors prior to myself. We've had numerous county commissioners serve with great distinction. And it occurred to me, and so I shared this with Chairman McAdoo, it occurred to me that this county does not have a process whereby we can honor those who have served with incredible distinction in our community, and whether they were in elected capacity or not. But quite honestly, the idea was born out of those men and women who have served in elected capacity and served this community quite well. And I think we have a number of public buildings that quite honestly are unnamed, and we've got a number of new buildings that we are putting together that will be currently unnamed. And it occurred to me, what better way to honor those in the 200-year history of this county by recognizing their service. And so I asked Chairman McAdoo if he would put together some rules, regulations, some guidance on how this committee might go about naming a particular building or facility for those men and women historically who have served this county very well. So I've asked Chairman McAdoo if he would do that, and of course it would come through this committee. It would start in this committee, and the mayor's office would be grateful for any input they could have, but more particularly the guidance you would provide in moving that forward if that's something you deem appropriate. So that's essentially the idea. Chairman?
Okay. I think it's an excellent idea, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because last year, I know new commissioners wasn't here, but it was brought up for us to name a building One Stop out there in the Blackman community. And it went through the committee process and on the floor of the commission, and it was approved. But then we had to send it to the Murfreesboro City Council for their approval, since it's like a joint project at that one-stop building. And during that time, I think Chairman Phillips can verify this, we did not have any outline, any plan or anything put together really for naming buildings in the county. So therefore, we opened it up by doing what we did last year. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna get questions about it, and we'll probably get recommendations of names that be brought up to us. And I myself personally do not wish to go through just pulling it out of thin air without having some type of rules and regulations when they come to you, that we can give them, here's a copy of our rules and regulations for naming buildings and so on and so forth. So therefore, I thought it was a good idea, and I'm throwing it out to the committee for your input on what you think about it. Of course, Commissioner Phillips, you can chime in anytime you get ready about it. Commissioner Dodd?
It's the first time this has been presented to us, but my initial instinct is I just want to make sure we have some verbiage or text to declare the more diversity in our names. I'll just make sure that more people who are underrepresented get on that list. That's not a very good way to state it, but I'm just ready to see some diversity in the names, if there's any way that could be included in our process.
Well, as far as it look right now, we're going to be the one that putting the rules and regulations together, so you will have the input to put in, suggestion right there. And then any other commissioners on this committee, you could be jotting down ideas and whatnot if you think this is a project that we want to undertake. But I think it needs to start here and move on through the committee process to the full commission. So therefore,
May I, again, thank you. Mike, if I know that you have access to subdivision regulations and you've been able to help us with processes from other communities. Do you think is there a way to search? Perhaps there's another community that has a process, and would you be a candidate for that, or who would you suggest on staff that could look that up?
Probably myself.
Or Doug, maybe,
and
planning?
Doug as well, yes. I know in Nashville, they allowed this as well. They had rules and regulations, but I think the person that the building was named for had to be past at least 2 years before they could name it, in case some skeletons came out of the closet or something like that, so.
So I don't know that it needs to be a motion, but I would let the minutes reflect that we've asked planning and engineering to find us a template from a few communities, if that's agreeable. And if that needs to be a motion, let me know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an excellent idea, especially if we can create basically a set of rules that are clear and somewhat unambiguous, and recognize the substantial service that a number of folks, have made to this county. And, whether or not it's someone who's, a year or two out, or 3 or 4, or past, or whatever, those would certainly be relevant considerations. And then we would want to have a clear nomination process, I believe, to try to take some of, to make it fair, I believe. A clear nomination process and a clear approval process, so that eventually work through this committee, I presume. We can talk obviously about that or have discussions. And then it work through the other appropriate, through the full commission eventually, is how I would envision. So does the chairman need a motion, or is it simply a consideration?
I've heard all the information. If we want to make it in the form of a motion so we can proceed on with this project, I think it'd be appropriate if we accept the motion at this time.
I'll make a motion that the Rutherford County Planning Department do a search and provide this committee with a minimum of 3 public building name selection processes from other communities in Tennessee.
I would second that with a brief amendment, if it's okay, just in consultation with the mayor's office.
And I would just add, rather than an amendment, if I may add to that, with consultation from the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Motion and second, any discussion on it? Commissioner Phillips, you got anything to add to that?
No, we've in the past looked at possibly honoring some type of lifetime achievement situations, and we've always decided to go against it because of political ramifications, but this is nothing but politics, so it would probably be one of the more appropriate situations in my mind to do that. I'd just add that legal needs to be involved in that process too, so I'm sure under the mayor's office that could happen. If it's being done at other places, we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
And that's what the motion is all about, is let's see what other folks are doing and kind of go from there. I think it's a marvelous idea.
I just want to affirm that the mayor's office was bringing this idea to this legislative body for consideration, and the mayor's office certainly approves of the motion as worded and as amended, and it would be this body who would ultimately make the final decision on what those rules and guidelines look like. And so any suggestions we would bring would be back to this body for your final approval and input. So transactionally, that's in our minds how we would look at this.
Any other discussion? Now we got a motion and a second. Let's call the roll on this.
Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo.
Yes. Okay. Is there any other businesses to come before us under other business? Commissioner Wilson?
Thank you, Chairman. I think the idea to tour these facilities would be welcome. I would appreciate that greatly. I think we were quiet at first because I know my schedule is quite flexible. I would rather work around what's available. And I would actually possibly like to make a day of it and tour multiple sites at once. I think that I don't want to be a problem, to tour guides or anyone giving us information. So I would love for us to maybe see about, I'm flexible with my schedule. We can ask the other commissioners how they are. Since I can work around that, I'd rather hear what's best available for our people here and then make that work if there's a couple of dates to choose from.
Okay. And hopefully we can bring this information back at the next meeting. And we can probably put together a real good tour, and then if they have questions, ask the questions on site, and then whoever over that project, we'll have them there also, so they can discuss the project.
So if there were a couple of dates that were good for whoever would be helping us, I will work my schedule around to work for them.
Thank you. Any other business to come before property management tonight? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Motion. Meeting adjourned.